Hello, good afternoon. I got a quick podcast for you today. Thank you very much for tuning in to Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives. My name is Ray Hazlett, as it normally is. Hi, I wanted to hope you had a good holidays. Hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving, if that's something that you do. I saw some news a couple weeks ago, and I decided to sit on it because I didn't know what to think about it for a little while, and I wanted to collect my thoughts. And Valve had announced a new thing coming up soon. They're calling it the Steam Machine. It reminds me of the Steam boxes that they tried to sell like, oh boy, was that 7-8 years ago? Something like that. Oh, yeah, it was like 7-8 years ago, which was when Valve licensed out their Steam OS and had some very loose hardware stipulations of like, hey, do you want to go ahead and have a semi-console thing, a box that you can put underneath your TV? I think they called them Steam boxes back then. And they were made by a bunch of different manufacturers, and a bunch of different manufacturers had different ones, and you know, I'm going to speak anecdotally here. Nobody I knew about one. They seemed like an interesting waste of time. The thing about playing PC games on your TV is that if you have a laptop, you could just do that. Or you don't even need a laptop. You know, you can hook up a computer to your TV. It's not difficult. I remember when I was working at Radio Shack so long ago, there were a lot of customers that would come in and they would brag to me about how they figured out how to watch Netflix on their TV by hooking up their laptop to their TV. And they're like, yeah, if you just buy an HDMI cable, you could just watch Netflix on your TV. And I, you know, working there, I'm just shaking my head like, yep, that's absolutely, you could do that. Me, who's been watching Netflix via Xbox 360, which, you know, for all intents and purposes is also a computer that's just meant to play video games. Tell you what, before I get into my thoughts on Steam Machine, I'm going to pause right here. We're going to get to our commercial, so we'll be right back. Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back. All right, cool. We should be back. So the Steam Machine, I'm on their website right now. It's supposed to be a way to go ahead and play all of your Steam games onto a TV or onto a computer screen by putting it into a small 6-inch box and hooking it up to said TV or computer screen. And that's it. It's a small little computer. It's very cute looking. They're mock-ups that they have. It's like 6 inches, has several HDMI ports, has an internal power supply built in. It's pretty cool. It has, for its input output, it has 1 gigabit Ethernet cable, 1 display port, 1 HDMI port, 1 USB-C port, 4 USB-A ports, which is Cool. Neat. And it has a custom GPU in it, and it promises to play 4K games at 60 frames per second. It's a custom AMD GPU. Good. Everything seems great. How much RAM does it have? 16 gigs of DDR5 and 8 gigs of GDDR6 VRAM, virtual RAM. And it comes with either a 512 gigabyte storage SSD or a 2 terabyte storage SSD. Wi-Fi 6 enabled. Bluetooth enabled, of course it is. And it does come with a Steam controller, one of them when you buy it in the box. Operating system is going to be Steam OS. So, does it sound great? Sure. Here's the news that has not been covered when they talked about Steam Machine, and I saw the tech sector of the internet kind of lose their collective minds about it. How much is this going to cost? Obviously, they're going to sell 2 different SKUs: the 512 gigabit SKU and the 2 terabyte SKU. How much are those going to be? I would love to know the answer to that, and it feels like that they are sort of hiding that info. Or maybe they're going to wait until a later date to announce it. Let's be honest, due to the current administration and a bunch of tariffs going on, probably the parts for this might be expensive. I don't know how much of this is going to be made in country in the United States. Maybe a lot, maybe a little. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. But it is interesting that they announced this entire thing and none of them have announced the price of it. Maybe they'll have a separate reveal video to tell you exactly how much it's going to be. It is odd, though, they didn't say the price. And that gave me pause immediately. And I think eventually, once the proverbial hype of people getting excited to say like, oh yeah, Valve is winning, Valve's doing it again, right? As Xbox leaves the market, Steam enters the market. Steam has been in the market for the longest time. But anyways, no one knows how much this is going to be. There are reports that Valve wants to price this as a high-end or mid to high-end PC, which sounds fine. It sounds like based on the specs, it's probably a high-end or mid to high-end PC. Perfectly fine. So what are we talking here? $2,000? $1,600? $1,200? Like, these prices are all over the place nowadays, especially with, like, as I mentioned before, constantly shifting tariffs. How many people are just like taking a bunch of computer chips, especially GPUs and RAM lately. The manufacturer Crucial, which is been around for a long time, they've been a manufacturer of RAM. They announced that they're shifting away from the consumer side of business and they're just going into business side, which just means that's a way of saying they're just making AI for RAM for AI. My apologies. Tell you what, before I go ahead and get into that, we're going to take one more break. Take one last break, playing it here. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were. Maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount when you are at the checkout. Enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself, or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlip sent you. All right? Okay, so yeah, if Crucial isn't making RAM, and Crucial is one of the manufacturers that makes pretty good but inexpensive RAM, if they're out of the business now for consumer-based products, that just means that, RAM just got really expensive. And RAM did get really expensive. It was almost overnight the prices for RAM shot up. RAM that was $75 just last year is now selling for $300. Absurd and obscene. I actually just upgraded my PC with a couple sticks of RAM just last month or something like that. I've been sitting on 16 gigs since 2019 and decided to add another 16 gigs to it. My PC is a bit faster now, hooray. But I'm glad I did that soon, because had I waited till just now, oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah, it's not looking great out there for what the price could potentially be, unless Valve wants to go ahead and sell it at a loss. And I'm told, or I read online from several different places, none of which are extremely reliable sources, that right now Valve sells the Steam Deck at a loss. And that's interesting to me. It doesn't shock me. The Steam Deck, though, is not exactly selling like hotcakes. I do anecdotally know people that own a Steam Deck, but not many. Supposedly, as of near the end of 2025, Valve has sold 6 million Steam Decks out there, which sounds like a large number. You'd think like, oh, okay, they've been selling through. Okay, that's not that bad. For comparison, I'm gonna type this in. How many Switch 2s have been sold? Yeah, okay. I've just checked right there. I'm just making sure I have the correct number here. Okay, as of November 2025, Nintendo has sold 10 million Switch 2s. Just for clarity, the Steam Deck, which is the handheld little device, it's not really little, it's pretty big, it's pretty monstrous actually, but you know, it serves its purpose. That device came out in 2022 and they've sold about 6 million so far. The Switch 2 came out this past June, and June or May, something like that. Was it May? Oh wow, I actually forget the actual date that it came out. It was either June or May, something like that. And they have sold 10 million so far. It's actually on pace to be the best-selling Nintendo console of all time if it keeps up the current pace that it's on right now. So potentially, for more little bit of data, the Switch 2 sold 3.5 million units in just 4 days when it came out. It was in June, by the way. I just looked it up real quick. It was in June. Okay, cool. I wasn't that far off. That's a lot. That is a lot of Switch 2 sold. That says that Valve is targeting a completely different market, and the market that they're targeting is the tech enthusiast market. And tech enthusiasts seem to want to buy different items that are going to go ahead and give them a bump in their gameplay or in their experience, or they just want this very cool little thing to just sit in the corner somewhere. If you were to ask me, hey, Ray, are you going to go ahead and get a Steam machine? Probably not. The fact that they haven't announced the price gives me so much pause, I'm going to lean towards no. It does look cool, but I don't know what I'd use it for. I have a computer. Most people that are listening to this podcast right now have a computer. I'm willing to go out on a limb and venture that every single person listening to this podcast has a computer and has a Steam account. So the question is, what do you want a Steam machine for? What are you going to use it for? Do you absolutely need to play your Steam games on a giant TV that you might have? I guess my question is, you're one HDMI cable or one DisplayPort cable away from doing that right now. If you really want to. I don't know. I don't know who this is for. I hear that some people just really, really like the idea of having a constant little machine that can play all of your Steam games without having to have a giant bulky PC. And I think that sounds fine. It reminds me of the concept of a Mac Mini, which those have been around for well north of a decade, longer than a decade. A Mac Mini is basically just like a Mac PC, but small. And yeah, I think those are cool. I don't know a lot of people that have them, but I think they serve the purpose for people that have them. But most people will probably opt for like a MacBook because they want the laptop and the screen combination that they can take anywhere. Or they'll just, if they really need a PC, they'll, not a PC, but a tower, they'll just get like a Mac. And very, very few people need that. So I don't know exactly who this is for. Is this going to fill the hole in the market for when Xbox finally leaves the console space? No, it's not. There's probably someone screaming right now, yes it will, because Microsoft had their chance to do something like this and then they didn't. And it's like, I don't know. I doubt it. The thing about consoles, again, is that people buy consoles for the ease of use. I just bought Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I keep forgetting that this game has a subtitle. I went to GameStop, I picked up the game, I plugged it into my Switch 2, it worked immediately. There wasn't even an update because my Switch 2 wasn't connected online. I did connect it online and I eventually did do the update. Point is, it worked without any fuss or muss. I was just however much the game cost away from playing it. That's what people buy consoles for, and that's what people like. A Steam machine, I guess, could simplify that process as well, but you already have a computer. I don't know. It's like owning a car. Like the thought I'm having about this is, you live in a house, you own a car. Let's say you're married. Your wife or your husband owns a car. And then for whatever reason, the wife or the husband decides, I'm not getting around town good enough. I'm going to buy a motorcycle because sometimes I want to get around with the wind in my hair. And that's like fine. This is a cohort of people that absolutely 100% exists. Is it for everyone? No. Are there some negatives with that? Yeah, sure. Motorcycles are inherently much more dangerous than a car, but they save you gas if you use them for transportation. But let's be honest, most people that buy a motorcycle aren't using it for transportation. The wide majority of people aren't buying it for transportation. So again, I don't know who the Steam Deck is for. Maybe it's for the Linux weirdos. The Linux weirdos are probably like, that's for me. That's who it is. It's absolutely for me. And you know what? Bless you all. I hope you're all very successful. In case they want a device that's running Linux and they want to go ahead and do some weird stuff with it, and I think that's cool. Go do it. So I heard some students, or I heard some other people say that this is going to change the gaming space, and I think it's going to change the gaming space just about as much as the Steam Deck did, in that people will look at it and say, can we do that? Because there are a bunch of pocket PCs, portable PCs that play games, and they exist out there, like the ROG Allies of the world. How many people have bought them though? I mean, if you go by worldwide numbers, I'm sure it's at least 1 million, maybe 2 million. I don't know. There is a cohort of people. It's an extremely small cohort, all things considered. I know some people are thinking like 2 million people is a lot of people. It is a lot of people in the tech world when you're trying to make your money back. Not a lot of people, unless you built it at a specific scale. That's your entry amount of people you want interested in, I guess. You want to scale that up by a lot because R&D development is extremely expensive. They might sell this at the loss, and it might be just fine, and it might be Valve just saying, we've given you a new way to enter our ecosystem, and I think that sounds cool. Like, I have no hate for this thing. It's probably not for me. I'm probably not in the cohort for it. I feel like sometimes I'm in the cohort for a Steam Deck, and I think 6 months ago I was in the cohort for a Steam Deck, and I was really looking at one. But then the Nintendo Switch 2 came out, and I said, oh wait, never mind. I don't want to deal with all the nonsense. I know whenever I buy a Switch 2 game, it's going to just work. And then I just spent $450 and got one of those. And it's been perfectly fine. Great, even. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts on the Steam machine are. That's my tiny little rant about it. If you have some thoughts, I'd love to hear them. Please do share them in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube as a podcast. Or please do leave a rating based on this podcast. Tell me what you think about it. Ratings do actually help the podcast. And finally, if you want to get some more information, please go to our website, unscriptedgaming.com, or follow us on Blue Sky, unscriptpodcast. You can send us an email there also at unscriptedpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to go ahead and hear from you. Thank you very much for listening. My name is Ray. If I don't have another podcast before the holidays, then I hope you have yourself a fine holiday season. Have a good one.